husband's here.
Let me see him.
He's extremely ill.
You have to tell me where he was, what he was doing.
It was his decision to go in. It's something they termed the Shimmer. We've sent in drones and teams of people, but nothing comes back.
But something has.
You're a biologist. You served in the military.
If I knew what happened, I could save his life.
The boundary's getting bigger, it's expanding. We're talking cities, states.
You need to know what's inside. So do I.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Lucky Dog Podcast. This is your host Elias, dropping another fresh movie for you. Just saw it, FOTT, fresh out the theater. Yes, you've heard it correctly. I'm gonna copyright that. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna put on the hats, do it on the t-shirts, put on all the Lucky Dog stuff. It's copyrighted, trademark, done. Got it. You got it, Doug. If you hear a cat in the background, there's a Doug. Not now. Doug's my co-host today. I saw Annihilation from the director Alex Garland, the previous director of Ex Machina. I think many people have recognized some of his work from specifically that movie, I guess. I actually don't have his stuff pulled up. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Ex Machina. Alex Garland, the director of Annihilation, has, yes, we know, Doug, he's done Ex Machina, 28 Days Later, Never Let Me Go, and Dread. I think some comic book fans know the comic book Dread. He's quickly risen to one of the more popular, I'd say, directors that you go to get a specific look, a specific tone. And he was able to capture a quite amazing story. I think it was originally written by, I'm supposed to have this up right now, Jeff Vandermeer. Okay, so I probably said that last name wrong, Vandermeer, but Jeff Vandermeer must have written the original novel. I'm guessing it was called Annihilation. I'm not exactly sure, but I've heard that this movie was actually a lot different from the book. Although, let me tell you, I really enjoyed it. We'll get into the basics. So, first impressions of Annihilation. I originally had mixed feelings walking out of it. The first half, I'm going to break it down in 3 different halves, and we're going to keep it spoiler. Since we generally have it as a spoiler podcast, we'll keep it a spoiler podcast, because I think this is a better podcast to listen to post watching. So, first impressions. First half, I was like, where is this going? It was dragging a little bit. I have a kind of a stigma against first halves of movies. If it's not immediately grasping me, just like, yo, you have to watch this, man. You got to really check this out and pay attention. And I can't say it was doing that right off the bat. Although, knowing Alex Garland, I know that he tends to have different styles of editing and storytelling, so it left me it left me curious at the beginning, because I was like, this is kind of dragging, and I wasn't really sure where it was going. And the main people that were getting the amount of screen time were Natalie Portman, Oscar Isaac, and Jennifer Jason Leigh, all doing phenomenal, but I didn't particularly find myself gravitating toward any one of these people. I didn't find any one of those individuals who were taking up the majority of the first half were likable enough too. So I mean, we were supposed to kind of a little bit with Natalie Portman, but there was kind of a side plot where you found out she might have not been loyal, but then again, I think that her husband might have been dead. It was all kind of intertwined. She didn't know, he didn't know, they don't know. Although that might have been before. Let me think about it. Actually, I think that was happening before. I think she might have been having an affair before her husband left for deployment to go to this bubble. So I'd say Annihilation can best be summarized as like a roller coaster ride of Black Mirror episode meets somewhat of a rival. The best parts about it, honestly, are the look. For apparently a $40-50 million budget, somewhere in between there, pretty small in relative terms compared to big superhero movies that get 100, 200, 300 million dollar movies. This used 50 under 50. So they really maximized the budget. All of the CGI and the animals and all the things that you see within the shimmer, the bubble that is created, is incredible. It is phenomenal for what they did on the budget. The music and the sound design really put you in the moment, and it's layered in places where it really feels that it accentuates the moment. So I mean, it's a horrible feeling seeing a skeleton bear in some of these things, some of these scenes, that the giant crocodiles you'll see, and there's other crazy things I don't want to say too much, but the production design and the sound that goes into some of these animals and creatures and the feels and the things just look incredible, look and sound incredible. I enjoyed that it was an all majority woman led cast. I did have one gripe about the character Jennifer Jason Leigh. The entire time she was on screen, I felt like I could not relate to her as she was not believable as a managerial status expert in the realm she was working in. She just did not portray that for me, and it kind of led to a disconnect for me fundamentally from the group. So in the movie's kind of divided into three different acts, and from the first and second act, when they're introducing everybody and then going into the shimmer, to the bubble, I call it the bubble. I think it was called the shimmer or the shrine. I don't remember exactly what it was called. The bubble. I'm going to call it the bubble. Going into it, they hardly had any contact with any of the military scientists or anybody from the outside, and they were clear that technology was kind of spotty inside the area, inside the bubble or the shimmer or whatever, but that they kind of override that plot line later, saying, oh, it doesn't work, oh, actually it does work, it kind of things like that. Just easy writing. They would just kind of walk along. They were like, oh, this is so and so it must be so and so. It kind of felt video game-ish, the explaining as you go kind of thing, and you're just like, okay, so we'll go with that. Just happen to have a thing in my pocket that that works with, things were convenient along the plot line that it was hard to overlook in some scenario, in some cases. They find a camera that's been out in the woods or something like that, and you got to believe that still works or something like that. It's just very unbelievable things that you have to kind of go leaps and bounds to go over. But the first half has some real pacing problems. I think this movie probably could have been 30 minutes shorter and done just as well. Honestly, it could, like I said, it was very similar to like a finale Black Mirror episode. I would have been. It feels stellar. It feels that stellar if it was just cut just a little bit tighter. Maybe 15-20 minutes. Maybe that might be too tight, but something around that area would have been nice. The acting in some of the scenarios for the majority of them, I guess, were women. So I'm just gonna say the women. I don't know if it was the director's fault or if it was the acting, because generally I like most of these actors. Even Jennifer Jason Leigh, who I wasn't crazy about the acting choices she was doing and chosen or told to do. I just I don't know, just whatever direction she was told to do, it didn't feel in correlation to the rest of the other women. But Natalie Portman was pretty stellar as always. Tessa Thompson, always good. And the other two women I can't remember, and I don't have the names pulled up in front of me. But the main thing is that almost all of the women, even Natalie Portman, they would freak out, and majority of them would act appropriately. I didn't think they acted like army women. Now I think most of them said they were in the army or served time. None of them looked like they knew how to hold a gun. I found that completely unbelievable. That they didn't seem to have any training or anyone that was on the production staff that told them how to act and carry yourself like a soldier. None of them really portrayed that from me personally. I don't know if any soldiers are listening, if you would agree or not, but I didn't feel it. I know one or two, and you can just see by the way they walk and the way they carry themselves that they've had to do this for a long time, and they just the women out, not that they're women, but the team, they just looked tired from the moment they had gotten out there. They just were carrying the backpacks. They just looked sluggish. They didn't look like they were ready to go as a soldier or as a squad or a team or something like that. So I was a little bit taken back by that. And then certain times I felt like they weren't acting to what a soldier was supposed to do. I understand that some of them were Natalie Portman was like a teacher or something like that, but then they just kind of wrote that she was in the army for 7 years before. If they didn't have that, I was seriously jumping out of my seat. I was like, are they seriously going to give a teacher a gun and just not explain this or not hand wave it away or something like that? So they kind of did hand wave it away with explaining, she was previously enlisted, but still, I call that sloppy writing. I think there's easier ways you could have done that. I don't know, maybe if there are photos of her and Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac in the army together or anything like that. I can't remember that, but anyways, I thought other than that, the toning, when, like I said, sometimes they felt like soldiers, sometimes they felt just like regular people that they pulled off the street, and not like regular actors, just like regular, like a teacher or like just regular people. They just seemed like they weren't in the soldier mindset. Some of the plotting, like I said earlier, just felt convenient or didn't make sense. Like, this is going to be some spoiler stuff as well. Like the camera, they find like camera equipment and stuff that just happens to work after months and months and months and stuff like that. There was a couple specific scenes that had to do with what it was, Oscar Isaac and Natalie Portman's character, just how they were mirrored by the Slender Man mirror man or whatever. There was a couple things I didn't really understand about that. Really, I understood that he was kind of mimicking Natalie Portman at the end, but the mimicking didn't lead to the place that I thought it was going to. I understood that she kind of outsmarted the alien or whatever it was, but then again, did she really? You know, because at the very end, very end, you might think otherwise. So it definitely requires a second watch, or a second, maybe even third watch, just to get even all the small details in, and just see how much detail went into the background and production design and everything, that type of thing. I do think that the plotting will show have a few cracks in it. Just I can think of them once I would get a rewatch in front of me. So I'm not a big fan of body horror, and there's a lot of body horror in this, and if you can take it, by all means, because you're gonna get it. I was looking at people in the theater to see how they were reacting, because I wasn't sure if everyone else had signed up for all that, what we were getting, and we were getting the load. We were getting the jigsaw load of horror. I felt like I was not quite as sadistic and gratuitous as that or anything like Saw, but they're definitely going in there and they're cutting some people up, and so you have to just be ready for that kind of horror and terror. And you know, I was certainly not. I was more ready for a sci-fi thriller, but I really came out surprised at the end, and I enjoyed the last 2/3. Really blew me away, and it made me want to go back and rewatch. Heck, it made me want to podcast it just to let everyone else know it. But it'll really make you think, and that's the important thing. So I hope this influences you to check out the Annihilation by Alex Garland movie. Thank you guys for listening, and have a good one.
It's not destroying. It's making something new.